And if I divide by V1 and T2 on the left side, I also have to do the same thing on the right side. V1, T2. Now we know V1 divided by V1, that's going to cancel. T2 divided by T2, that's going to cancel and leave us with just P1 on the left side. Now on the right side, are any of these going to cancel? They're not, because this V is V2, this one is V1. This is T1, this is T2. None of these are going to cancel. So that means our answer will be P2, V2, T1 over V1, T2. Now let's just verify that we did this correctly by comparing it to the first way that we did it, where we took it step by step. Okay, we got P2, V2, and T1. Now the denominator, the way it's written, I changed the order. Guess what? That doesn't really make a difference. The only time that the order makes a difference is if you have parentheses, subtraction, addition, so on. Okay? If these are multiplied here, they're multiplied here, you get the same answer. So, both ways work. Whichever way works for you, that's the way I want you to do it. Because the whole point is being able to solve the problem, not doing it the way that I want you to do it. Okay? Showing your steps is always awesome, for me though. Okay, so now, once we have all of our variables rearranged, if you wanted to actually find a value, you could go ahead and plug in numbers with their appropriate units, and you could calculate out your answer. I'm not going to do that for the sake of time right now, but let's just go ahead and write out what an equation could be if we wanted to plug in all of these values. So it's saying that what we wouldn't know is T2, because it's telling us to solve for T2. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and erase all this stuff. Lots of tiny erasing. Alright. So we could rearrange the equation like it wants us to. That might take us a while, so I'm just going to go ahead and write it by itself. T2 equals P2V2 T1 over P1V1. Okay? If you took the time to rearrange, hopefully you could get to this point, following the same types of steps we did before of using opposite operations. Okay? If you wanted T2 by itself. Now, if I want to plug in everything, I can have T2 equals, alright, we can plug in for P2 because it tells us what the second pressure is. 0.86 ATM. I'm going to run out of room, so I'm going to erase some more. Okay. 0.86 ATM. Now the next variable we have is V2. So I could plug in times 1.43 liters. See here it's labeled V2. Okay, and the last thing on the top is going to be T1, which we have down here, 373 Kelvin. It's okay if you don't know what the units stand for. For now, we're going to kind of learn them as we go. Okay, Kelvin is a type of temperature. All right. Now, for the denominator, we have a pressure 1 and a volume 1. So we're going to go ahead and put those in. Oh, I put volume 1 with, oh, never mind. Volume 1 and volume 2 are the same for this problem. So I confused myself here. Volume 1 goes in the bottom, 1.43 liters. And pressure 1 goes in the bottom, 1.08 ATM. Okay, so I want us to go ahead and practice what we had talked about with units really quickly. Okay, now the only way you can get units to cancel is if they're divided by the same unit. So remember, ATM, if we want ATM to cancel, it has to be divided by ATM. And since there's an ATM in the top and an ATM in the bottom, that is the case. our ATMs will cancel. Okay, same thing can go for our liters. We have liters in the top and we have liters in the bottom. That means that our answer is going to be in Kelvin because that's the only one we have left in the whole equation. So Kelvin, I already told you Kelvin is a type of temperature. Are we looking for a temperature? Yes, we are. We're asked to solve for T2. So this is exactly what I was saying about if you keep track of your units and canceling appropriately, you can verify that the answer you're getting is approximately correct. Okay? Your units tell you a lot about what you're doing. Okay, so Kelvin, let's see how we could actually get our answer. You would have to first multiply the top, 0.86 times 1.43 times 373. You'd put that in your calculator. I don't feel like pulling out a calculator today, so I'm not going to actually figure out what it is, but top divided by your bottom multiplied out. I can't write either. Okay, once you get that, the top and the bottom figured out, you can divide the top by the bottom, and that will give you your answer of how many degrees Kelvin. Okay, so I don't want to waste any more time with this, but that would be our temperature 2. Remember, T2 is just a variable. Once we have a number with a unit, that would be the answer for the problem when it actually gives you some information to plug in for your variables. Okay? All right, now let's quickly discuss word problems and then we should be done for the day. So, these are some steps that you can take. I encourage you to pause the video and write down these steps because we are about to use them in actually solving a problem. But first, you want to figure out what question words there are in your word problem. These could be how much, how many, determine, such and such, things like this. The next thing you would want to do is go ahead and identify your variables. So if you have an equation, or if you're given a pressure, go ahead and say this is a pressure. If you're given two different pressures, figure out which one is considered the initial pressure, which one is considered the final pressure. You want to label everything in your word problem if that's possible. And then once you know what your variables are, you should be able to find an equation that will allow you to use those variables to get your unknown, which was identified in step 1. You'll have to rearrange your equation to isolate your unknown from question 1. Then you plug in your numbers that you identified here to match variables. Okay, so that brings you back to the information from step 2 that you've already labeled. And once you plug in, you can cancel your units and you can write your answer after you have actually multiplied or divided or whatever you need to do to solve that equation. Okay, so example of this and with a word problem. Okay, now I know you don't know much about moles or molecules or anything like that right now, but we can still use the information given to us and solve a problem. Now, the number of moles of a molecule is defined as its mass per molar mass. What does per mean? Per means divided, essentially. So that means mass over molar mass. Just like miles per gallon is really miles over gallons, or miles per hour would be miles over hours, okay? So you can always, when you see the word per, that's going to help you think about division. Okay. Now, use the number of moles, which is equal to N, mass, which is equal to M, and molar mass, which is equal to capital M, and the mathematical relationship N equals capital M times lowercase m. This right here, guess what? It gave us our equation, so we're going to be able to skip that step of selecting appropriate equation, because now we know we're going to use N equals M times little m. Okay? All right. Okay, this equation was wrong. Yeah, never mind, no, the equation is correct. It should not say this here. Should not say per. It's defined as mass times the molar mass. So, this is our equation. Ignore that. That was a typo, I think, from the assignment, because this is the equation given. We're going to use this equation, okay? Now, it gives us a value for the number of moles, and it gives us a value for the molar mass, capital M. So it already tells us, it already identified our variables, so we know that N is 0.0021 mole, and capital M is 44 grams per mole. This means that we're looking for the only thing that we can't find, right? We already know N, we already know capital M, so logically we should be looking for this. And actually, here we are. Here's our question word. What? Okay, that's what I mean when I say look for the question word. Look for the part that actually has to do with the question mark in the word problem. Okay, what is the value of M? So that means we want to find M and what its value is, and to understand what the value is, we must have a unit. Okay, so we're looking for, so for part one, we know that the unknown is going to be little m, which is the mass. Okay, that's what we're looking for. All right. So in order to get little m by itself, we've got to take our equation and we've got to rearrange it to get m isolated. Okay, if m is on this side of the equation, and right now it's being multiplied by capital M, we know we have to do the opposite of multiplication, division. Okay, so that means we have n, capital M, lowercase m. We want lowercase m by itself, so let's divide by capital M. And if we do that to this side, we've got to do that to this side. Capital M divided by capital M, they cancel. And we will be left with little m equal to n over capital M. Okay, now, I know I switched sides here. Doesn't actually matter which side of the equal sign you put on your, when you write it out, okay? I like to have the isolated variable on the left side because it's more systematic to look at it that way for me, okay? So all I did was take the left side and the right side and I swapped them here because I like to see it where the isolated variable is on the left side. Okay. All right, so next step is plug in and solve. What I mean is we need to go back to number 2 to figure out what the things we are plugging in, the values in units for those things are. So for N, the value is 0.0021 moles. So we can plug that in. 0.0021 moles over 44 grams per mole, capital M. All right. Now, one interesting thing here is that we'll see that our moles will cancel and we will be left with what unit? Grams. Is mass measured in terms of grams? Yes, it is. So we have done this correctly, and I will stop being lazy and pull out a calculator. So we have 0.0021 moles divided by 44. So 0.0021 divided by 44, that's what I put in my calculator and hit enter. and I get a very small number, which eventually we'll learn how to write it in scientific notation. But the number my calculator gave me is 0.00477727, and the unit is grams. Okay, now one comment, we will learn next week how to have the correct number of significant figures, okay, because this is a lot of significant figures here compared to these numbers here that only have 2. We will also learn how to put numbers into scientific notation so I don't have to write out 5 zeros like this, okay? But we canceled our units, moles cancel, and we included our unit in our answer. So once you learn how to do sig figs in scientific notation, you'll make that your final answer, but this is what we've got for now. This is what you can do for now. Write out what your calculator gave you with the correct unit that you evaluated based on canceling units. All right, so I believe that is everything for today, and yes, indeed it is. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch this. This is fundamental for this year because we will be doing a lot of simple math, but you have to learn how to manipulate these kinds of algebraic expressions and plug in variables, identify variables, basically all of these steps. This is what you're going to be doing in WebAssign throughout the semester, but it's nothing to be afraid of, but you just have to make sure that you're willing to put in the work that you need to put in to be able to do these kinds of problems. And I'm here to help you. So if any of this is giving you a problem for now, come to tutorial, ask questions, and don't forget to take your quiz right after this video.